Hi friends, today I'm going to create a not so clean and simple Japanese themed shaker card using the products from the new Paper Discovery collection. So let's get started with our crafting session. The card I'm going to make will be the standard size, that is 4¼ by 5½ inches. Here I have created a top folding card base out of white cardstock. I have also die cut a plain panel that is just slightly smaller than the card base. I have used my nested die set to do that, but you can also use a paper trimmer. I'm also going to use a plain circle die, and that one from the circle die set. The one I'm using is 2¼ inches in diameter. I'm going to place that circle closer to the right edge of the panel. I'm going to tape it down and send it through the die cutting machine, and this way I'm going to create my shaker window. I'm removing the die cut circle, we won't need it for this project, we just need the panel. Next, I'm going to give this panel a little bit of texture and color, and I'll be using that embossing folder from the new Paper Discovery release called Japanese Wave embossing folder. As I mentioned, I would also like to add some color, so I'll be applying 2 shades of blue ink right onto the folder. Here I'm using Memento ink. One is a lighter shade and one is the darker shade. You can use any ink that you have. I'm applying the lighter shade at the top of my project and the darker shade at the bottom. Then I'm going to place my panel inside the folder, close it up and send it through the die cutting machine as usual. And as always, the tools and supplies that I'm using are listed down below in the description box, as well as on my blog with links to online stores. And this is what the result looks like. I simply love that stylish wave pattern. By the way, the panel is kind of double-sided because on the other side we have the same raised pattern, but obviously for this project I'm going to use the colored side. Then I went ahead and simply rinsed the folder under the running water with no soap at all, and it removed all traces of ink completely. And now I'm also going to add some color onto my card base. So I'm placing it onto the non-stick sheet, and I'm going to use 2 shades of good old distress inks, not oxides. They are Squeezed Lemonade and Wild Honey. First, I'm going to apply the Squeezed Lemonade as the lighter color all over the card front. I'm spreading the color evenly, but you don't have to try too hard since most of it will be covered up. Then I'm switching to a darker shade, which is Wild Honey, and I'm going to apply it along the edge at the bottom of the card. So again, the darker color will be closer to the bottom. I'm also going to apply that Wild Honey at the bottom of the circle window, and I'm using the panel as a reference. I'm also going to apply more blue onto my panel, and again I'm going to use 2 shades of blue, the lighter and the darker one, and this one I'm using Tumbled Glass and Faded Jeans. I'm applying the ink along the edges, and again at the top of the panel I'm using the lighter shade, and at the bottom I'm using the darker one. I'm also going to apply a little bit of color in the center of the panel. Now when I'm finished with the panel, I'm going to assemble the shaker card, and I'm applying some double-sided tape at the wrong side of the panel, just around the circle window, and then I'm attaching a piece of acetate to it. Next, I will be applying the foam tape at the wrong side as well. I'm just making sure I leave no gaps for the sequins to seep out. For a card like this, the single layer of foam tape is quite enough. I'm adding double layer whenever I want to add a lot of sequins and I want them to move around a lot. In this case, I just want to give more interest to the background, so I'm using the single layer foam tape. Next step is adding some sequins, and I'm pouring the sequins right onto the card base, and I'm using the panel as a reference to make sure I'm placing the sequins just behind the window. The sequin mix I'm using is actually the winter one, so it has some snowflake confettis in it, and I'm simply customizing that blend by taking out all the snowflakes. I'll be using them for Christmas projects later this year. Then I'm peeling off the liner from the foam tape and I'm applying the panel just over the card base, and this way all sequins are trapped inside the shaker window. I didn't add a lot of sequins so they can still move around inside the window just fine. And now let's go ahead and attach our focal image. To create my focal scene, I'll be using the Magnolia branch die as well as the lantern die. They are from Japanese Icons die set, also from the new Paper Discovery collection. I will be die cutting each image a few times so that I can layer the die cuts later on. To layer the die cuts, I'm simply adhering them with the liquid glue one on top of another to create more dimension. This simple technique does make a lot of difference, especially with intricate die cuts. The layered dimensional image looks very different from the single layer one. It just stands out a lot more without creating too much contrast. Lantern is an outline die. It doesn't have the matching background die, but that is no problem at all. I'm going to create the background using the same die. So I die cut the lantern out of white cardstock. Then I'm going to flip it over and simply attach a couple of pieces of washi tape at the wrong side, and that tape is going to keep all the small die cuts in place. Then I'm going to use the scissors and trim off all extra tape, and I'm also going to poke out the little pieces that I want to be there. Next, I'll be attaching some navy blue die cuts over the white background, and that is going to create the blue lantern with the white paper background. You can use just one blue die cut, or you can layer a few of them for more dimension, whatever you prefer. Now I'm going to attach the lantern right over the die cut window onto the acetate. I'm applying a little bit of tape as well as the liquid glue to make sure it won't come off over time. Next comes the Magnolia branch. I'm applying some liquid glue at the wrong side, and then I'm placing it over my card as if the lantern is hanging down from the branch. When the glue dries, I'm trimming the branch to the size of my card, and that finishes my project for today. This card has a lot of texture and a lot of subtle dimension, and it can still fit into a standard A2 envelope, so it's completely mailing friendly. Thanks for visiting my channel today. I hope you enjoyed watching. Do check out my new Japanese Dream collection. The link is down below in the description. Have a fabulous day, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye bye.